It's Wednesday, December the 31st, 2025, the very last day in this year. Good morning and welcome. I'm Kayode Okikilu.
Well, I wonder how you're feeling this morning with a mixed sense of gratitude and curiosity about what 2026 will look like. If you're in that boat, you're in the same as me, but we rise on positivity. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka. Kadi, how are you processing December the 31st?
As always, the last day of the year comes with mixed feelings. You sort of go back to the very first day in the year and say, for people who set goals, which I want to encourage everyone to do, right? You have your goals for the year and sort of go through it mentally. Some do it physically, have a board, a dashboard, and they look at it. How did I do in this area? How did I do in this area? And that's for individuals. Families have their goals as well. Organizations have their goals, not to talk of communities, states, and nations. So I think it's mixed feelings, personally, and for us as a nation. This year was a very, very eventful year for Nigeria, very eventful year for us as a nation. Insecurity was a common thread with large-scale kidnappings, almost depressing at some point, with the kidnappings happening back and forth. I think what broke a lot of people was the live streaming of that moment where a terrorist invaded a church and killed people, kidnapped people. So it was a very distressing year when it comes to insecurity. Fine, we had some bright spots with rescues and wins by the Nigerian armed forces, and then the U.S. stepped in. So security definitely big deal this year, and for me it's mixed feelings. Economy, well, had its back and forth. There was some stabilization here and there, a tweaking of the numbers to reflect the goals of the government. Inflation is now where the government promised that it will be. Yes, it was rebased and all of that, but all in all, December the 31st, 2025, mixed feelings, and naturally, you have to stay hopeful for 2026. So that's it for me, Bukola. Your turn.
Well, indeed. What more can I add? But to also recall the drama that shaped, the political scene with the back and forth with the politicians. The drama that also shaped the People's Democratic Party that saw, the heated exchange and the battle between groups loyal to the rival rival leaders on both sides of the divide, which also eventually led to the shutting down of the office of the People's Democratic Party. We saw all of that. We saw the many defections. The People's Democratic Party also losing as much as 4 to 5 governors in the last couple of months of 2024. The concerns about Nigeria, entering a phase of a one-party state, repeatedly denied, albeit unsuccessfully, by the ruling All Progressives Congress. And so the political scene held a lot of drama and a lot of indications as to what 2027, yes, indeed, that's where it's all leading and directing, energies, resources, and of course objectives too. That's 2027 presidential election. And it's also, leaving Nigerians, particularly those who'll be making the choices, with, evidence, with informed, events to make choices ahead of that time. Yes, indeed, we saw some stability in the economy, albeit sometimes at variance with, what the authorities put out in terms of reduction in inflation figures and all of that. But it also, gives Nigerians some hope as to what 2027 will look like. And so besides all of the security concerns, it's been a good year, if you ask me, Kadi.
Well, so there you go. A lot of people will be taking stock naturally. So on the show today, we'll help you tie up the year when it comes to security, politics. There are big things expected to happen today. But let's tell you that fire has gutted a section of the Arena market in Oshodi, Lagos, destroying about 10 shops. And there you see images just right when the fire was blazing. According to a statement by the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, they received a distress call at approximately 1750 hours, which is 5:50 p.m., reporting a fire outbreak at the market. It is said that firefighting units were promptly dispatched and arrived at the scene within 5 minutes. And the fire affected a section of the market consisting of 40 food container shops arranged in 2 rows, making a total of 10 shops. And to properly situate this, exactly 1 week ago, on December the 24th, about 25 kilometers away, this time in the Balogun market area of Lagos Island, there was yet another fire incident at the Great Nigeria Insurance House Plaza. So this is the second major fire we're seeing in Lagos market in a week. The Great Nigeria Insurance House Plaza fire took lives, and in fact there are reports that some people may still be trapped under the rubble of, or at least in the building that caught fire.
Yeah, well, images that we're seeing now, Kadi, they're quite distressing, and one would have hoped that there would be no casualty, but that's to the contrary. If reports coming from the Lagos Emergency Management Agency are anything to go by, 2 more bodies having pulled out from the rubble, some of them mangled beyond recognition, and that's the update. If anything changes, we'll be getting updates before the end of the day from officials of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency. But according to reports, that now puts the death toll from the Arena Market fire in Oshodi to 5 at this time. And so there's a big question mark on safety measures in our markets. You know, Oshodi is another big commercial nerve center in Nigeria, just as we talked about, you know, the Great Nigeria Insurance building in Balogun that took place last week, a very big commercial nerve center in Nigeria's central business district. Oshodi is just another one, a very big shopping center for many Nigerians, a place that empowers a number of entrepreneurs. And so what's you know, public safety like? Are there fire drills? Where are the exit points for those who are doing their business in Oshodi? Who are the leaders of the market? And what's the Lagos State Safety Commission doing, you know, to train, you know, these entrepreneurs in these, you know, very big commercial nerve centers in terms of fire drills and all of that to ensure safety? Where do they, you know, place their generators in case of power cuts? Are there, you know, fuels placed anywhere near, you know, inflammable content? So these are the questions that we should ask, and I think we should continue to mainstream, you know, conversations around public safety in, you know, areas like this that attract a lot of, you know, traffic in terms of even people going there, you know, to shop beyond those who are entrepreneurs.
Indeed. So part of that update about the death toll is from the Great Nigeria Insurance building, which occurred on December the 24th, and then we had this one just yesterday, which is a development story at the Arena Market in Oshodi. So while we keep our eyes on those events and of course follow them, let's also tell you that President Bola Tinubu says that the tax laws will take effect from tomorrow. There had been a lot of controversy around those tax laws, the amendments and the revamping of, you know, the tax framework, and a lot of people had called for it to be suspended. But well, looks like the new year would still be coming with the implementation of the new tax laws. So January the 1st is still the day as planned. That's in a statement that was released on behalf of the president. So It looks like no turning back on this one, but the issues still remain. The discrepancies that were alleged by the lawmakers, what is going to happen to them, how is it being treated? We understand that the House is investigating it, so let's ensure that the right things are done. We don't end up in a bigger mess that we're trying to fix. But that is what we have for you. The new tax laws will be implemented on January the 1st, which I should just say is tomorrow, less than 24 hours away. When you say January the 1st, sounds like a long time. Tomorrow, that's what we have for you.
Well, the president's statement did acknowledge public conversation on, the ongoing controversy. And, just to quote from his statement, our administration is aware of the public discourse surrounding alleged changes to some provisions of the recently enacted tax laws. No substantial issue has been established that warrants a disruption of the reform process. Absolute trust is built over time through making the right decisions, not through premature reactive measures. Now, the House of Representatives leadership just last week recommitted itself to integrity in its, lawmaking processes, acknowledging concerns that this concerns raised by Honorable Dasuki does raise question marks on issues of integrity around its lawmaking processes, but promised to ensure that investigations will be carried out. And while we await that investigation, a thing affirmed also by the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Tax Reforms and Fiscal Policy, Mr. Oyedele, on this program just last week, outcomes have not, surfaced yet, but the president is saying we're going ahead. So we're asking, does that mean that, there's a report that has come to indicate that indeed the controversies around this, are just smoke without fire, and there are no discrepancies, as pointed out. This is against the backdrop also of concerns from the opposition that it is not just a regazetting as promised by the National Assembly that should be done, but a fresh passing upon thorough harmonization, studying of what was passed and what was gazetted initially, such that there can be confidence in the tax acts that we're seeing. But it looks as if the president's decision has overridden all of that, and by tomorrow we now have new tax acts.
Talk about a new year present, right? But there you have it. But let's talk politics quickly. Never mind that it's December the 31st. Looks like a major event will play out today as we watch. There are reports that Labour Party presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi will be announcing his official defection to the ADC. So we have, about 18 hours thereabouts to get that confirmation today, but there have been commentaries about this from people in the Labour Party. Some saying, well, we're not going to move to ADC, we're going to stay put here. But we'll see how this plays out. The report around Mr. Peter Obi joining the ADC. Yes, he was at that meeting with what has been described as a coalition, but he never officially defected to the ADC. In fact, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar was also in that meeting, but he didn't officially defect to the ADC until recently. So we'll see how it plays out, but clearly the All Progressives Congress will be watching this space because the coming together of Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, whom from, last election scored higher than the president, if you put it together, would definitely worry and concern APC. But hey, we have 18 hours in the day to find out if this is going to happen or not.
Well, I think we should just hold our horses ahead of that conversation because there's so many implications to it, and this is going to draw out, all of the obedience, as they watch the space to see indeed, the direction that the conversation would take. So let's leave it for now, and we'll get to it later. But we're also very high on other subject matters this morning, particularly security from many fronts. In Ondo State, reports are coming through that a number of terrorists fleeing from Sokoto have been arrested. And so we'll be talking with Amotekun to find out the details that they have been able to extract from these suspected terrorists that have been arrested from Ondo State. And of course, we'll also, take time out to look at the capacity of this state security initiative, this regional security initiative, and to see, how their capacity can be expanded to further strengthen it to tackle insecurity in the region.
There you go. So that's a look at what we have for you. Let's take a quick moment now, and when we return, how are the dailies reporting all of the big stories? We'll find out, and we have Mr. Iwakeria joining us, so stay with us. All right, Mr. Iwakeria joins us live from our Abuja studio, a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Mr. Iwakeria, good morning. And I don't know, is there a greeting for the last day of the year? Because we do love our greetings in this part of the world.
It's a pleasure. I've been away from Abuja for a while. Well, I can't see you in the studio. Apparently, the monitor here is not on, but I can hear you, so I hope I can just follow up. But it's a pleasure being here this morning. I have been in Delta for more than 4 weeks to also monitor developments in my state, particularly the progress being made by the governor of the state and all elected public officials of the state. It's been interesting so far. And a pleasant new year starting from tomorrow. There's a lot loading for Nigerians, the tax reform act. The president insists keep kicking off tomorrow. So wait and see how all of that play out. And of course, Anthony Joshua, the famous Nigerian British boxer, who is still recovering. All our hearts are with him. It's a lot loading, really.
Absolutely, Mr. Iwakeria. Well, let's get right into it. The Vanguard newspaper leads with one of the things we've mentioned. The new tax laws take effect tomorrow, Tinubu insists. So that is the position. So there is no ambiguity around it, because a lot of people may have wanted to just hide behind what is playing out in the House of Reps, or the controversy, and say, well, it's not going to take effect. Well, this is official now. It's going to take effect from tomorrow. Says that no substantial issue established to warrant a stop, calls on stakeholders to support implementation, fix the laws first. PDP urges presidency. And NECA endorses takeoff, says delay is a crime against Nigeria. I think what is missing from the president's statement is those discrepancies. What are they? How did they get there? And if you say that they are not substantial enough, let us know what they are. I think that is what the government at least deserves to give Nigerians. So did you think that was also missing in that statement, and is that a concern for you?
Well, what bothers me really is the PDP rep member who raised the issue. I think we need to see transparency in this process. Now, if anybody says that there is discrepancies in the law that is to be implemented tomorrow, Nigerians want to see the discrepancies published, or advertised in the TV, published. I think that the parliamentarian, the lawmaker, needs to clearly identify what the discrepancies are, put them out there in the public domain so that Nigerians can see what the National Assembly passed and the alleged insertion in the new law. For now, the allegation is, there are insertions, there are new issues in the law. And the presidency say, look, there's no substantial issue there that can warrant non-implementation of the law. And nobody is putting anything out there. It's just English, it's just grammar, it's just semantics that both sides are speaking. So if the PDP is not putting it out there, I expect the federal government to publish the law that is to be implemented, because more Nigerians don't even know. We just know that, look, the Tax Reform Act has been passed into law. It is to be implemented tomorrow as the federal government insists. No, what is the law about? Can we just have a bullet highlight of the law, the key areas? I read this morning one of the reports that I think part of that law that I think will also affect me as an ordinary Nigerian is that if you are sending money, there will be, 50 naira deductions for every 10,000 naira that one is going to spend. And this law envisages that it's not going to significantly affect the low-income earners. So if an average Nigerian is sending 10,000 naira, which of course is considered a small amount of money, and he's going to lose 50 naira in the process, I think that is already very impactful on low-income earners. So maybe these are the gray areas that government needs to clear. Before now, it is the beneficiary receiver of that amount that is charged 50 naira. But again, it is now the flip side. It is the sender that is now going to pay that money, 50 naira. The government is also saying that all of the laws that were implemented, the Tax Act that has been implemented on June 26th, this year, 2025, that along with the new set of laws will come on stream from tomorrow, January 1. Nigerians want to see the whole gamut of the laws, how it affects them, how it doesn't affect them. The semantics that low-income earners are not going to be affected, vulnerable Nigerians will be exempted from the new tax law. People also want to see it in black and white, clearly printed out so that we can know what the law is and the so-called insertions or the discrepancies. So Nigerians can then make their judgments from there.
Indeed, Mr. Keria, you're quite accurate in that regard. And I recall that there was also an advocacy that by the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms that the laws be published in different languages, key languages, such that Nigerians have a firm understanding of the direction of the new tax laws and the implications for their income as well. We don't know what progress report we have on that one, but it looks as if with the president's comments, the ship may have sailed on the alleged discrepancies. But understanding, we can only be hopeful that more steps will be taken in that regard. But let's head to the Guardian newspaper, which also covers that, by the way, on the sides. But the Guardian is causing us to reflect on something entirely different as far as its big story is concerned. It's on cooking gas. Over 20 million households stick to firewood, charcoal, over affordability, and we see there, a breakdown of the indicators of the report. 20 million plus households still rely on firewood and charcoal. 1.5 million households switched to LPG in 10 years. Some out of the 1.5 million now reverting. LPG used 250,000 metric tons from 2014 to 1.5 million metric tons in 2024, Mr. Keria. And so what does this say about the reported progress on the economy, on the strength of the reforms of the administration, and also you could also cite the drop in inflation and the stability that we have reportedly experienced in 2025?
Well, for me, this is one area I think the government, whether the federal government or the subnationals, the state governments, can intervene to alleviate the suffering of Nigerians. Don't forget, before the 2023 general elections, Nigeria was rated as the poverty capital of the world, where there's multi-dimensional poverty. Now, that cascades down to the real issues. When you say Nigerians are poor, anybody who uses firewood to cook in the 21st century, clearly that person is within the bracket of multi-dimensional poverty. That household or that individual is really, really very poor that he or she cannot afford the LPG, that's cooking gas. So the point I'm making is the federal government needs to subsidize very significantly, the price of LPG, that is cooking gas. Currently, for 12.5 kg, I use that. It's between 15,000 and 16,000 naira. I think the government can do well to bring that down to about 5,000 or 6,000 naira, so that Nigerians can actually can afford it, and then of course the accessibility and the availability of that product. If it is there, I'm sure most Nigerians will want to use cooking gas. Don't also forget that this country has ratified all of the international instruments on climate change and all of that. We ratify. The country is very quick at signing on to these agreements, but implementation back home, has been very, very lax. The political will or the commitment to ensure that, it cascades down to the average Nigerian, so that we can actually benefit from some of these international instruments. It's not yet there. So this is an area I think the government will need to look at. If the government is not bringing down the price of fuel, which has been left to market forces to determine. That of LPG, not everybody uses fuel anyway, because that has also been the argument. Not every Nigerian drives a car or has a motorbike to put fuel. Not also every Nigerian has a generator that you need to buy fuel into. But every Nigerian cooks food to eat. And so if the price of cooking gas is brought down, that is going to directly affect almost every home in the country. And of course, that is also going to save our forests and our woodlands. Right now, as we speak, if you travel across the country, I told you I just returned from Delta. If you look right and left as you travel along the road, you can hardly find, mature wood. They've all been hewed and cut down for maybe either cooking or illegal exportation to China and some other countries. So these are areas that the government will have to quickly look at for the benefit of the average and poor Nigerian.
All right. Next up is the Nigerian Tribune, leads again with the tax laws. But let's skip that because we've talked about it and we already know that that's what's coming. But you see just right on top of the front page, how APC's tsunami reshaped Nigeria's geopolitical map in 2025. FG denies plots to target opposition figures, dismisses ADP4VIP document as fake. So this is how the Nigerian Tribune is captioning what happened in 2025, APC tsunami, and really that's what it looks like, because you can see the APC flag sweeping across Nigeria, and it's really ironic because you find states where you never thought that, hey, this state will go to the APC, or at least the governor will go to the APC, and here they are, APC members. In fact, we understand that there's another state that is already in talks with the APC. So this kind of tsunami, can it be a good tsunami? Because all the tsunamis I've known are usually bad.
Well, I laugh. You said it all. Tsunamis are usually bad. They come with a lot of agony, pains, and destruction. Well, but I think this is a different kind of tsunami. Nigerians are yet to fully understand what is going on. The APC broom that is sweeping across the 36 states, and of course, maybe even Abuja, where we are here. For me, as a journalist, I still cannot really come to terms with really what is going on politically. But I'm already preparing my mind post APC sweeping of the states. After that, what is next? What is going to happen to Nigeria's democracy? Are we still going to what brand of democracy will we be practicing? Can we still then say it is inclusive and multi-party democracy? Because the beauty of democracy itself, by every stretch of imagination, is when people have divergent political opinion, have ideological leanings, whether you are to the right, to the left, or to the center, whether you are a progressive, you are a capitalist, you are a socialist. I mean, those are the defining ideological parameters for forming political parties and for registering as a member of any political party. But as it is really not clear what Nigeria is getting into. If we do have almost 90% or 95% of the states in Nigeria in one party, in the APC, what will that tell us? My worry immediately is, if you look at the National Assembly, where the APC controls both the upper and lower arm of the parliament, where all of the laws that comes from the executive are passed without proper scrutiny, without proper, vetting, and that for me, that is not a good omen. I would expect that, I am a pro-democracy activist myself, I will expect that the beauty of any democratic system is the pluralistic involvement, the inclusivity of diverse opinion and different, different ideas, that can be put together to reshape the future of our country. But if one party is now going to dictate what happens to the entire country and the fates and destiny of all Nigerians, I have my worry. But that is what we are faced with at the moment. Again, it is the politicians doing their thing, the governors, the president, the parliamentarians. Nigerians are not the ones moving into these parties as we speak. Maybe when we come to election, if Nigerians do vote for the APC overwhelmingly, it means that the APC have the buy-in and support of Nigeria. But at the moment, I still see it as, politicians doing their thing, political alignments and realignments are going on, interests are being negotiated, and they are all falling in. But we'll see if what is playing out has the buy-in of Nigerians in the days ahead. It's not far. We are moving into 2026 already. 2026 is the electioneering year, where maybe the APC now and the French parties, the small parties that are able to survive this tsunami, will come to Nigerians with their manifesto, with what they have for Nigerians, and then, of course, Nigerians will have to make their choices from there. We wait to see. It is a developing story, and it's a huge, it's a big story that is developing. Maybe by the time the APC hosts its convention, and losers from the convention, from the appointments and elective offices, the losers will come out then to start telling Nigerians what is actually happening. And of course, they want to fall back to these fringe parties. At that point, Nigerians will know what has been transpiring, what is hitting them, the thunderbolt that is hitting them at the moment. But as it is, those who are blaming the president, I don't think President Bola Tinubu has any blame here. It is just the politicians doing their thing. This is my view.
I like your description, Mr. Keria. It's a thunderbolt, but it's a broom. It's a broom, ironically, that is causing this thunderbolt that is sweeping through Nigeria's geopolitical map. But let's head to Daily Independent now, which, of course, leads with the president's decision to go ahead with implementation of the new tax laws. But look at the top corner, left corner of Daily Independent, and it talks about the gains, albeit, paradoxically, of the democracy that you've been talking about. Insecurity, high costs, others make farmers vulnerable despite improved harvests in 2025. And at the bottom of the big picture on the front page, there's another seeming contradiction. Nigeria's 2026 outlook, CBN projects 4.49% GDP growth, inflation cooling as reforms deepen. Mr. Keria, how do you weigh in on these two contradicting outcomes?
Well, the CBN is making projection. I want to see what the MBS will do, the National Bureau of Statistics, what it will say. But you see, if you look at the economics and the figures that the federal government reads out every now and then, how does it affect the average Nigerian household? People are still finding it, still struggling really to survive. The value of the naira is still very, very bad. It's down there. We are surrounded by francophone West African neighbors. In the past, the franc, the French franc, that which most of the francophone country, Benin Republic, Togo uses, naira is way stronger than those currencies. If you talk of the Ghanaian cedi, of course, as we speak, the naira is the weakest, weakest currency within the West African sub-region and corridor. So for me, I do not know what the CBN is talking about. Nigerians want to see very clear, visible improvement in the value of the naira. That is where we have to start this debate from. It is not to say, 10.4 trillion naira GDP growth. If we have that, how does it affect the life of the average Nigerian? That is one key issue. And that is one major issue that Nigerians are having with the ruling party, as it were, which I think that the ruling party will have to really focus on the economy. The economy has to be strengthened because this is going to be a major issue for the elections next year, in 2027. And of course, security that you talk about. Farmers are complaining, yes, there is improved farming yield, but how do you actually plant? How do you harvest? How do you transport the yield back to the communities and the markets for Nigerians to access? The roads are have almost become a haven for kidnapping and terrorists. They are blocking the road, seizing Nigerians and dragging people into the bushes and forests. Well, I also give it to the government. It is not all gloom. The federal government has been doing a lot, particularly since President Bola Tinubu came to power. We should give it to him. That's the truth. I'm one of the strongest critics of the president in the early stages. But I'm beginning to also see some of the efforts. You can't completely just blame the president for all of the issues that have happened. In the 8 years of former President Muhammadu Buhari, I would have hit him very hard this morning, but the man is no longer with us. Whatever we say, the man has gone to join his ancestors. He really messed up, Buhari messed up this country on all fours, whether in the area of fighting corruption, whether it is in the area of security, economic management. It was a total mess. And so it's become a Herculean task for President Tinubu and his team to try and clean up the mess and reposition the country. I think the Tax Reform Act, which the president insists must be implemented from tomorrow, may be one of the strategies to try and reposition, reset, and re-strategize the economy. But I will appeal to the government this morning that in implementing the tax law, there must be a human face. The average Nigerian, the common Nigerians must benefit directly from the outcome of the implementation. Otherwise, it will almost become a case of moving from the fry pan to fire, because Nigerians are already burning and the heat is on. So we don't want more heat. The New Year starts from tomorrow. As we move into the New Year, we want to see some relief. Right. We want to see some sigh, such that Nigerians will say, oh, indeed, the benefits are beginning to yield results. Don't forget, the president himself also said that all the reforms, whether economic reforms, security reforms, and all the sector reforms across the sector, is like a pregnant woman that is going through labor pain, and that very soon Nigerians, when the child is delivered, relief will come. We hope that the child has been delivered now. From tomorrow, we'll celebrate the outcome of those of the reforms of the government.
All right. So, Mr. Carrier, December the 31st, I know a lot of people will be attending, the countdown services or crossover services, as the case may be. But just to announce that the Lagos State government has announced the cancellation of the Greater Lagos Countdown Concert. It's a thing that people attend. Mr. Carrier, in Lagos here, that's what a lot of people attend. But Lagos State government says, well, it's not holding, that people should instead spend time reflecting and praying. So apologies on behalf of the Lagos State government to those who have bought their clothes and their shoes for the Greater Lagos Countdown. It's not going to hold anymore. So there you go, Mr. Carrier. We have to thank you so much for your time. We wish you a greater 2026. Thank you, as always, Mr. Carrier.
Well, Happy New Year to Nigerians. We pray we'll be happy in the new year. Congratulations to all. For those of us that are still alive, congratulations to us, and Happy New Year in advance.
There you have it. That's our very last newspaper review for 2025. But hey, 2026 is tomorrow, and we'll have another paper review by then, by God's grace. But we'll take a moment now, and when we return, I'll walk through some of the major political events played out this year, and the one that is expected to play out today. The governor of Kano State expected to move from the NNPP to the APC. There's been a lot of controversy around that. Mr. Peter Obi also reported to announce his movements today as well. So there's still a lot in 2025 politically. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
As established earlier, it's been a very interesting political scenario in 2025 with a lot of twists and turns. And some of those turns came through during an conversation over the weekend when Mr. Peter Obi announced that he will be on the ballot. And not just that, he says he is not going to be a running mate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And so what is the implication of that position, especially when you now set it against the backdrop of his reported planned decision to defect to the ADC today? We await that event, which would, of course, also cause a lot of reactions in the coming days. But let's look at the implications of this. And joining us on the program now is one whom you always, of course, enjoy his analysis where politics is concerned. Public affairs analyst Mr. Jide Ojo joins us virtually today on the program. Mr. Ojo, it's good to see you again. And I love your hat. Happy New Year in advance to you, Mr. Ojo.
Happy New Year, Bukola. Happy New Year, Kayode, and Happy New Year, Nigerians. It's a pleasure to be on your program, the last edition for the year.
And so it's been an interesting political trajectory for the former Anambra State Governor, Mr. Peter Obi, from APGA to the PDP, and now to the ADC, according to reports. Has this been inevitable for you, following developments that have shaped his career in 2023?
Well, one thing about politics is, as we all know, it's a game of interest. There is no permanent friendship or enmity in politics. It's a game of interest. People who are involved in politicking are not doing it for the sake of charity. They want to win power, and whatever will give them power is what they go after. Peter Obi came like a meteor, a kind of probably unseen to the political scenario of Anambra way back in 2003 when he contested to be governor under the All Progressive Grand Alliance. Prior to that time, if anybody knows him, they know him as a banker, as a businessman, and a business octopus of sorts, but not at the national level. But he took Anambra by storm, won the election, even though allegedly it was rigged out. For about 3 months, he fought his way through the courts, got reinstated, and that enabled him to govern Anambra State for 8 years. And after that, he tried to install a crony as a successor, which he did. Willie Obiano came after him. He was very influential and very instrumental to the emergence of Willie Obiano as a successor, because Willie Obiano happens to be, if I'm not mistaken, executive director of the Fidelity Bank, where Peter Obi has interest. And at the end of the day, he got in there, but soon after they fell apart, and during the re-election of Willie Obiano, he decided to support another candidate to succeed Willie Obiano. Now he has moved to PDP, and he didn't succeed. Willie Obiano ended up doing 8 years. And from that moment on, Peter left PDP again, moved to Labour Party in May 2022, and contested the presidential election. Now, whether it's a right move for him to join ADC, the question is, why delay for 6 months? ADC was unveiled on July 2nd, 2025, and he had to get an ultimatum for him to defect or lose his chances for him to come up with a decision to defect today. And when he said he will be on the ballot, that is a very pregnant word to use, because there will be primary election before you can be on the ballot. So perhaps he knows what we don't know. Maybe the negotiation has been concluded that Atiku Abubakar will step down for him, and then that will pave way for him to be the presidential candidate of ADC. Because I actually watched Senator Abaribe on your evening program, Politics Today, was it last week or sometimes recently, where he said there's going to be a game changer in 2027. And he said Nigerians should watch out. So Peter Obi declaring for ADC today could be part of the game-changing joker. But I'm curious, why did he want to declare in Enugu and not in Anambra? Because if he's declaring, it is presumed that he will have gotten his membership card in Onitsha, where he usually votes. He's said to be from Onitsha area of Anambra State. So maybe what we are going to see is a kind of cannibal-like situation, whereas he either has surreptitiously joined the ADC in Anambra, or we do so after today's declaration. But we want to see, I believe it's going to shake the political climate in 2027 to have P2B joining ADC. And something bothers me a bit. I thought by now INEC will have licensed the 8 pre-qualified political parties, among which is ADA, which everybody had thought was going to be the party that opposition wanted to coalesce under to contest. But up to today, after about 2 months of announcement of pre-qualification, INEC is here to officially license those 8 political associations out of 172 that have applied to it. INEC is here to formally announce whether they have succeeded or they have not. But be that as it may, P2B is taking off the gauntlet, is officially declaring for ADC today from what we have heard. And unfortunately for him, his governor brother in Abia, Alex Oti, said he's not going to be joining him in ADC, that he wants to stay back in Labour Party and rebuild the Labour Party. So we'll wait to see how many people will be officially joining ADC with P2B today. Maybe there will be some serving House of Reps, Senator, or even Governor among those who will be defecting to ADC. Because one thing that has happened, which I consider a kind of anticlimax, was that in the last 6 months of unveiling ADC, the party has not been able to attract any serving governor, senator, House of Reps, or even state House of Assembly member. All you hear is, oh, former this, former that, ex this, ex that has joined. So what are they afraid of? Is it that they don't have confidence on that platform of ADC as a vehicle that can lead them to political survival in 2027? But all of that may be about to change when Peter joins ADC later today, if what we are hearing is anything to go by.
So plotting the political map now, again, some of these things can be very tricky when it comes to politics in Nigeria. The APC has succeeded in converting almost all opposition governors to their side. And we know the kind of powers that governors wield. Yes, it's not the people, but the governors. Ironically, the state where he's expected to declare, Enugu, is an APC state, right? It used to be PDP, but he defected to the APC. I know it's been said that he chose Enugu because it's like the historical capital of the southeast and all of that. But in actual fact, when the rubber meets the road, does ADC still look strong enough to really give the APC a run for its money?
Well, it's $1 billion question. I wrote in my column in the Punch newspaper July. I said, APC, watch your back. ADC is coming. But in the 6 months, I've waited with bated breath to see, like in 2013, recall that after the coalition that formed APC, before the end of 2013, APC got its registration July 31, 2013. By the end of that year, we have a lot of serving governors, senators, House of Reps, State House of Assembly members joining the APC. But we haven't seen that with this ADC coalition. Is that deliberate? Is it that it's strategic? Are the serving members weighing their chances? Is it the fear that there could be a backlash if they declared openly to support opposition? I was even expecting that my governor in Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, after the pushback from APC people in Osun, that he will actually join ADC. But the reason being that the National Secretary of APC, ADC, former Federal Minister, and holding that kind of powerful position, I thought that may be an alternate platform for Ademola Adeleke. But lo and behold, it just to go to a AFCON party rather than going to ADC. So what exactly are they afraid of? Is it the Atiku Abubakar phenomenon? People have said, oh, forget it. ADC is a platform for Atiku Abubakar in 2027. Perhaps Kayode and Bukola may be part of the intrigue, maybe for to catch the ruling party unaware. Maybe there is a kind of alliance or understanding that Atiku Abubakar will not run in 2027, and therefore will throw his weight behind P2B, in which case the road will be clear to have, even if anybody, whether it's Amici or any other person, contest with P2B in ADC. The chances of Peter clinching the ticket is higher if Atiku is not running. But if Atiku runs, it then means that it will be a battle of, it will be a kind of rumble in the jungle between two titans who were actually candidate and running mates in 2019 before Peter chose to leave PDP and join Labour Party in 2022. So people are also insinuating that if Atiku does not step down, given the fact that Atiku has a very deep pocket and is very generous when it comes to party primaries, there are founded allegations that he is a very good, cheerful giver when it comes to party primaries. And given the fact that P2B always said, they give shishi. So if you don't give shishi and somebody is ready to do that, maybe that would be, nothing is confirmed. These are all speculations. Nobody has effectively said they have evidence that this man actually induced delegates. But it's what's in the public domain, that if Atiku is if Atiku and P2B are contesting for the same ticket in the same party, the chances of Atiku Abubakar clinching the ticket is higher than that of P2B. But if the understanding is that, oh, don't worry, we'll just keep them guessing when the time comes, and this is going to be a convention that will still take place around middle of 2026. Although Bolaji Abdullahi has said that there will be two conventions of ADC next year. One would be to firm up and the National Working Committee to firm up their NEC agents of election. And so we have that maybe earlier in the year, and then the party convention for election of presidential candidates around June or July. So it's all going to be at the level or at the realm of speculation for the time being. But suffice to say that I think the last 6 months, P2B has used it to negotiate and to kind of come to an understanding with the leadership of ADC. And perhaps he's now convinced that he wants to come out in the open to identify with the party that everybody has rumored he has affinity with now.
And then speaking of, party primaries and securing delegates, sadly, that is another narrative that may inevitably shape the 2027 elections. And, to add to that, the House of Reps did reject a proposal to criminalize inducement of delegates during party primaries. But we'll see how that goes. You did say something earlier that, one cannot ignore in response to Mr. Peter Obi's comment that he will be on the ballot in 2027. And you said he may know something that we do not know. Speaking of which, if that were to be the case, is that a form of political, I don't want to call it suicide now, but a prediction of what the outcome of the 2027 election may be in a loss for him? Because earlier on, Kade was saying that the votes of Atiku Abubakar and that of Peter Obi in 2023, if put together, would have resulted in an election victory for that joint candidacy. So is it a wrong decision that Mr. Peter Obi has made by extension by rejecting the purported proposal, to run as running mate with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar?
Well, that's why I said perhaps Peter Obi knows what I don't know, what you don't possibly know. That he has had an understanding with the leadership of ADC that when the time comes, Atiku Abubakar will step down for him to be the candidate, which is why he has the confidence to say he will be on the ballot. Because I don't see him, if he's not that confident, I don't see him jumping ship. If he declares today for ADC, and maybe next week or sometimes in January, INEC license new set of political parties, I don't see him jumping from ADC in such a very little time to go and be the presidential candidate under any other party. And Obedient Movement, from what we learned, have warned him that they will not vote for him if he's a running mate with Atiku Abubakar. And I know for a fact that in terms of politics, Atiku Abubakar is more experienced than Peter Obi. And what I've also heard from the grapevine is that the negotiation, part of the negotiation could be that Peter Obi will do one term. If Atiku steps down for him, it becomes a presidential candidate of ADC, and they are able to win the 2027 presidential election, that he will do one term so as to pave way for a northern candidate, not necessarily Atiku Abubakar, in 2031. And you can see that permutation seems to fit into the narrative. Peter Obi was one of the first set of people almost 5-6 months ago that said, I will do only one term if I'm given the opportunity to serve as president of Nigeria, that he could do a lot within 4 years. But people said it's a gambit, and that's what has also pitched him against the Obedient Movement. That look, if you are not going to be able to do 2 terms of 8 years, why wasting our time voting for you to only go and do 4 years? You are not going to be able to achieve much. In 4 years, the rot is very deep in Nigeria. But because, and that's why people have said that Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi, 3 of them who has openly declared that they are going to do one term, that they are very desperate for power, and that they want to use that as a gambit to oust President Bola Tinubu. But by and large, it is what it is. Politicians have vested interest, and interest is #1 priority on their checking list. So it all depends, and don't also be deceived about the pilgrimage into APC that we have seen in 2025. The point is, I foresee an implosion in APC, which will lead to a lot of mass an exodus out of APC after the primaries of 2026. There will be party primaries, and many who have thought that they will either get automatic tickets or they will be in pole position to get tickets to the contest in 2027 will become disenchanted, and many of them will be seeking alternate platform to realize their ambition. So implosion is inevitable in APC. And perhaps that's the calculation of the ADC. The acronym sounds similar, isn't it? Yeah. So sometimes you are calling APC and people thought you are talking ADC.
And
but
that is maybe...
it's not part of the game. That's why they always look for, even accord. They know that in the pecking order, when ballot papers will be designed, it will be according to the alphabet.
The alphabet,
so,
right.
A, B, C, D, E, F, Z. So by and large, it's a waiting game for us,
right.
Analysts and media practitioners. We see what they unveil in the coming days and weeks and months.
Yeah, so interesting. As you said earlier, APC, watch out, ADC is coming. Let's see how it turns out. And we missed Jeffrey on this one. Jeffrey would have said as long as they give us talking points continuously. But we must thank you very much, Mr. Jide Ojo, for coming on the program. Mr. Jide Ojo is a public affairs analyst and columnist.
It's a pleasure. Happy New Year in advance. Keep safe and stay blessed.
Happy New Year in advance to you too. Kade, you have the next one. We're on to the next talking point already.
Right, we'll take a break now. When we return, we'll bring you the next talking point. Stay with us. So from politics in 2025 to security in 2025, this may go down as one of the most eventful years for Nigeria in the area of insecurity. We had large-scale kidnappings, even more than we had during the Jonathan era. The max we had was over 200 then. This year we had over 300 targeted at schools, vulnerable people, and maybe for the very first time we had the United States saying, well, we're going to get involved, and they actually got involved. So let's walk through this year and maybe look at what will play out next year. By way of prediction, we're joined by Mr. Hamza Talba, a political risk analyst, joins us live from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Talba. You're welcome to the program. And,
good morning, Mr. Kadi.
I'll just get right into it. This year has left a lot more to be desired when it comes to insecurity. And the president has also been speaking. In fact, he met with the leaders of Christian Association of Nigeria recently, just before he left the country. And he made a statement that was quite striking, saying, for all those who are asking, the rhetorics around what's happening to the terrorists, was there a negotiation, was there ransom paid, that all of that doesn't matter, that the end justifies the means. So it leaves a big question mark around justice, in fact. So maybe we should walk through this year, and from your own perspective, would you say this year has been the year that the government was really open, transparent, and forthright in its fight against insecurity?
Mr. Kadi, thank you for having me again. Actually, let me tell you categorically, with the style of leadership of Mr. President in trying to see the security architecture of our country, Nigeria, is taking a new dimension. And more especially, you can believe me and everybody watching from far and near across the country, with the joining tax operations between the U.S. strike that held at Jabo area of Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara. A lot of bandits and a lot of, let's say, a lot of notorious were been killed. Thousands of them were killed. As I'm talking to you right now, nobody knows where the whereabouts of Bello Turiji, who has been terrorizing the state, Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara. It is all under the leadership, under the leadership of Bello Matawali and that of his counterpart, Mr. Christopher Musa. So with issues of insecurity, there was also said what we call political or conflict entrepreneurs. Those conflict entrepreneurs are people that when their terms or on their need are not meet up, they go all the way, or they go all the way around. And actually, with the way and tactics that Mr. President is doing in tackling these issues of insecurity is something to say away from, and a very kudos to Mr. President.
So I understand all that has been done, but you see, in the fight against insecurity, building trust is very important, because it's the people you're able to build trust with that will give you intelligence, right? Because intelligence is one of the key components of winning this kind of, in fact, winning any war against insecurity. So trust is important in terms of the way we coordinate the operations, the way justice is handled. It's important for people to see that indeed government is on their side. So while I appreciate some of the things that you said have been done, the president's style, I'm speaking first to that trust quotient. Why is it? Is there any plausible explanation for having a situation where people are rescued, but the terrorists, bandits who are responsible for it, are nowhere to be found? Did they disappear? Was ransom paid? That's the point I'm trying to make here, Mr. Talbot.
Mr. Kari, actually, you agree with me with the strike that took place, was it quite weeks ago? As I'm talking to, a lot of people were killed, and basically these people are all those bandits. And you made a mention of about trust. Actually, that is what we call part of the leadership, or part of the characteristics of a leadership. Whoever went to select, for instance, you take Nigeria as a case of study. Mr. President being him the chief commander armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You make a mention of loyalty and also trust. Somebody cannot be given a such trust, let's say, for instance, the defense architecture or defense sector. If Bello Matawalle is because of the trust that Mr. President has on Bello Matawalle, and before we even go further, you agree with me vividly when this was it the MAGA girl, 25 girls that had been kidnapped, and they were later released under the leadership and in cooperation with State Minister of Bello Matawalle, alongside with Mr. Christopher Musa, because that's the worst scenario when it comes to security, and it is not a part in which you can play with or you do a politics with. You take Zamfara State as a case of study, because the reason why I said I take Zamfara as a case of study is that virtually most of these problems rises by the governors. Most of the problems rises by the governors because governors politicalizing these issues. At times, many at times, there are not these bandits, but for their own selfishness, desire, and interest, they just created, as I've said earlier, conflict interfering with us. Secondly, Mr. Kayode, you will agree with me, and this is what I'm going to say is that ever since the emergence of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president of Nigeria, there's no any state governor that has not been given at least 400 to 500 billion naira as fuel palliatives, I may say. What have they done? What have they done with that money? Actually, they should have been able to utilize those money. A hungry man is an angry man. When there is no proper channels, when there is no proper social amenities, when the people and on the governors, they are not after people. You can see how, as we are approaching 2027 elections, I've heard about you when you talk about a lot of things, issues of Obi coming or articles stepping from him. So they are not after people. All what they are after themselves. And we want to call categorically across the country, issues of security or issues of humans, it's not something that one can be able to do a politics with. I take example for a as a case of study. You could remember vividly that Mr. Dauda Lawal, when he went to Saddam from about a kilometer, 102 kilometer from Gusau, that's from Zamfara Gusau to that Saddam. A lot of incidents happen. A situation whereby you have insecurity in your state. It is not about road constructions that they are after. All what they are after, you just need to assure their safety, amenities, social health care. This is what you should be prioritized on. And what we call in leadership a clear communication. Because if there is any state that should be safer, it's Zamfara. You ask me why. the State Minister of Defense is from there. And the reason why his nominations was being based on this assertion, because he knows the trajectory when Buhari led Buhari as a president was there. So what I'm calling here is that if a governors can be able to collaborate with the Ministry of Defense, I know definitely a lot of issues of insecurity might have become a history in Nigeria.
Your thinking is quite, different and a departure from, what is generally at the center of the debate where defense is concerned. And that's where I'm headed. You have given the Minister of State for Defense a lot of credit, particularly when it comes to his role in the release of those who have been kidnapped. But let's
go further,
let's go to the other side. Pardon me, let me land.
Okay.
Let's go to the other side of the conversation as well. This is against the backdrop of comments by his aide, who has been speaking in recent times, who has now, by the way, also been sued to court by his former boss, Mr. Kamara, who has drawn our attention to allegations that the minister, while he was governor, bought cows for bandit leader Bello Turji Halilu Sububu. He also talked about how allegedly, I'd like to point that out emphatically, allegedly, the minister, while he was governor, had a police squad that, allegedly killed for him, or also, preserved the lives of those that he wanted to preserve, amongst other allegations that has come through. And Bello Turji himself has come in a video to speak about his relationship with the minister while he was governor. Isn't this an integrity burden on this administration, which, by the way, has been painfully silent about all these allegations that have come through?
Certainly no. And before I proceed to answer your questions, I have to tell you categorically why this channel has been the best TV station for all these years. It's because you people, you are so, in terms of integrity, in terms of the staffs, everything. That's the reason why we keep that. That's an accolade. So also, Matole, that accolade cannot be taken away from him. We take an instance when he was a governor. And he was the only governor that took a dialogue. And Mr. Matawale did not take a dialogue. He consulted then President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. Muhammadu Buhari asked him, okay, you can consult your counterpart. Bello, that's when, Masari was a governor. Zulum, of Maiduguri. And when they comes together, when you come talk of a dialogue, it is not all about the way you can just, or that the best way is a dialogue. Even the Quran and Bible, it is the best way you can to negotiate a lot of things, or a lot of dispute, you come with a dialogue. When he did that dialogue, it was not him alone. There was a committee set up, and the chief imams of Zamfara state government is there. And what day he told them, okay, what are your grievances that you take this? They said most of their cows, most of their days, people will can just vote into the village, take this. That was the reason they take decisions in their hand. He said, if that should be the case, you say hands up, say no to any immoral act that may lead to, distractions or a lot of to take even a lot of people. They have that agreement. And secondly, when this Musa Kamara was saying that he was the intermediary, or he was the intermediate between the then governor of Zamfara, which is now the Minister of Defense, they had a dialogue. Okay, this is what we need. Or if that should be the case, what are your cattle's need? It is part of all the dialogue. It is there. And I want to add more to it. He's the only person that come openly take a Holy Quran. The Quran is something that someone cannot play with. Like me, you cannot give me Quran to swear. Why? Because I know the consequences behind it, even though you are even optimistic of what you are saying. Bello Matole came out openly. He said he swayed with this. If he has enough, or if he has knowledge, or anything that... I'm coming. Answer a question, and please allow me to learn, as you have said. if that clarified that aspect of fact. So we're not taking that from him, and it's based on the trust, as Kayode said. If not because of the trust, Mr. President knows better as we do, that Nat'l should not be there. If not because of the trust he has for him. He lost his own seat because of the trust that Mr. President earned on him to coordinate Northwest for him. So you can see it's not something Nat'l can come and play with it.
So if you have landed now, sir, are you saying that what transpired while Mr. Bello Matawalle, between him and Bello Turji and the others, was a peace dialogue? You are in fact telling us that there was a relationship.
No, actually, let's start carrying. This is a medium, whereas I can be able to pass my information. I cannot be able to pass the information if I might be in my home. It cannot be. So this Musa Amarawa is served as, okay, please bring them. We need to have a dialogue with them, and which that dialogue took place. A lot of TV stations, which I believe your TV station was one of the TV stations that took the event at that time. So what I'm telling you here categorically with people, because we are talking about the honesty, we are talking about the trust, because there is not any ministry that the kind of the trajectory or the kind of confidence or the kind of politics is that of defense. And Mr. President have taken it very important and issues of sacrosanct to see he not to give those that have passion for him. Because in leadership, stability and political value, whoever you can entrust with, that somebody must have a passion for you. So Mr. President knows that the Minister of State, he has the passion for him, and he also has the passion for the country. And he is doing tirelessly. He was at Egypt defense exhibit, or yeah, I can call it where he was able to charge and to have a military and bilateral agreement between the military of that Egypt and also the Federal Ministry of Nigeria's defense system. And also from there, when people were even calling, a lot of that Bello Matawalle should be there, Bello Matawalle should be replacing. He was busy in Saudi Arabia, still having a bilateral agreement to see how he can be able to bring these issues of insecurity end under this administration is right.
But the point still remains that justice has to be seen to be done as well. While there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work, negotiations, Nigerians must see these terrorists arrested. They must see them prosecuted, if not neutralized, to serve as a deterrent and to show the world that Nigeria is indeed a state that has laws, right? Not a lawless state where people can just run riot, kidnap people anyhow, then have them released and nothing happens. And that is the point, and I hope that will be the New Year resolution for the security architecture, all the way from the commander-in-chief to the very man on the field. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Hamza Talba. I think this has been a productive conversation, and these are the kinds of engagement that hopefully will build trust between government and the people. Thank you once again, and wish you a great 2026.
My pleasure, Mr. Kayode.
We're still staying with security, but this time we're speaking about the Amotekun. Made a major arrest yesterday. So let's walk you through what is happening on that front. Bukola.
Yes, indeed. Let's welcome Mr. Detunji Adeleye, Commander, Amotekun Corps, Ondo State, who joins us virtually on the program. Good morning, Mr. Adeleye. Thank you for coming on the program.
A very good morning to you. How are you today?
Well, very well, thank you, and Happy New Year in advance.
Same from here.
So let's start very quickly. Reports came through that Amotekun in Ondo State, under your watch, arrested 39 terrorists, reportedly fleeing from Sokoto State, amongst some other criminals, totaling 100. What do we know about these 39 terrorists?
Thank you very much. What we reported was that Amotekun paraded 61 suspected criminals, inclusive of 39 men arrested in a dark spot between Ifon and Akure, precisely in the forest of Elegbeka. There were other suspects that were equally paraded, and we had commenced profiling these men. And as soon as it's concluded, necessary steps in conjunction with other relevant security agencies will be taken.
So help us understand, are they the ones fleeing from Jabo and Zangaya local government areas of Sokoto State following the U.S. drone strikes, or broadly speaking, there are 39 terrorists fleeing from Sokoto into Ondo forests following pressure mounted on them by security operatives?
What, from our preliminary investigation, what we're able to deduce so far is that they traveled in 2 vehicles from Sokoto State, few from Kano, and met in Elegbeka, in Ose Owo, local government area of Ondo State. And they were also able to let us know that they actually wanted to settle in the forest. And you will recall that a couple of weeks ago, the executive governor of Ondo State launched the Operation Lewonjade, which is precisely those that are illegally occupying the forestry reserves area should be ejected. As we talk, we have the armored rangers domiciled in the forests, and we have control points in strategic locations, as well as border patrols and the 24/7 enhanced patrol. So all these operations makes it very easy for us to detect when people are illegally occupying our forest reserves area. So it was during one of these operations that we were able to get credible information upon which we acted, and we were able to arrest 39 of them together. We then brought them back to the headquarters for detailed profiling.
Right, so you were quoted as saying that some of these suspects said that they moved to the areas where they were arrested from as a result of the heat turned on them from their original place of location, yes, or what have you. I mean, please help us understand that context, because a lot of people interpret it as Sokoto State.
That's exactly what some of them said, that as a result of the heat turned on them, because we found out that they claimed they've not been to Ondo State before. They don't know exactly where Elegbeka is. So to now find them hiding in the forest there, it looks somehow. So upon detailed investigation and interrogation was when some of them said they left Sokoto State as a result of the heat being turned on them.
Well, so I see here that in the breakdown, some of them were arrested for breach of law and order, some for anti-open grazing violations, some for kidnapping-related offenses, some for even rape and gender-based violence.
And robbery, armed robbery.
And armed robbery as well. Were there arms and ammunition found on some of these people?
Arms and ammunition were used by some of these criminals that were arrested.
Right. So I'd like you to help us understand just how equipped Amotekun is. For the southwest states, this has been at least some sort of stopgap solution while they work towards state police. But a lot of people have said Amotekun can be way more than what it is right now in terms of the equipment that you have, in terms of firepower, intelligence and all of that. In fact, a lot of people have used Amotekun as a model to say if Amotekun is able to work, then this is how state police can work. So where is Amotekun right now, and where can Amotekun be?
Well, I'd always made this known in the last 5 years that Amotekun remains one of the major solutions to this grassroots insecurity. You see, Amotekun comes up with an homegrown solution to the domestic problem, the local problem that is insecurity in our domain. And looking at it from both the conventional and unconventional angle, you'll find out that it's always easy for Amotekun to detect criminals amongst the locals, because majority of those recruited are usually from that area. So it's very, very easy to know when strangers comes in. These people don't live in heaven, they still live amongst men. And that is one of the reasons why Amotekun has been recording tremendous success across the Southwest. On the issue of firing power, of course, it will have enhanced the operation of Amotekun if we are exposed to automatic weapons. But we refuse to allow this to stop us. And we give a lot of kudos to His Excellency, the Governor of Ondo State, for giving us an enabling environment to perform the little or this much that we've been able to do. We have what is called the Operation Lewonjade going on in the last 60 days. We have the Ember Month Patrol that is going to be rounded up today. We have the Amotekun Rangers domiciled in the forest there. We have the 24/7 enhanced patrol in all the 18 local governments of Ondo State. And on the border patrol, we have a joint collaboration with Ogun State Amotekun, Ondo State Amotekun at the Ore-Benin Express axis. We have the same thing happening at the Iju-Ita-Ogbolu-Ikere axis for the Ekiti-Ondo axis, and ditto for the Osun-Ondo axis, where we have the control post at Owena. So all this put together makes it very, very difficult for criminality to thrive. Across the board, we've been able to collaborate, all the commanders in the Southwest. I happen to be the chairman of the commanders of Amotekun in the Southwest. And we have been working together, meeting both physically and on Zoom to ensure that criminals don't run away from Oyo and hide in Osun or Ondo. All we need to do is to work together. And very recently, principals, the governors of the Southwest states met, and coming out of such a crucial meeting, they gave all of us marching order to ensure that we tighten up our belts to ensure that security of lives and property are given top-notch on our activities.
Well, from what you have said so far, I'm spoiled for choice as to what to follow up with. I hope there'll be more time, but let me quickly get this in, which may form a big concern for particularly dwellers in Nigeria's southwest region. And this comes on the heels of kidnappings in Ekiti, local government area of Kwara State, and kidnappings recorded in Kogi State, suggesting that the menace is pushing further down into Nigeria's southwest from the north-central region. Talk to us about the state of forests in Nigeria's southwest. How true is it, reports that often come through, that the kidnappers, the terrorists and bandits are pushing further, following pressure mounted on them in Nigeria's north, into forests in the southwest? And I believe one of such came through recently about Idoani Forest and Iyamuri Forest. But talk to us about the safety of these forests.
Well, that's exactly the need for us to have armored rangers that are domiciled in the forest. In the last few months, we have few cases of kidnapping, robbery, especially coming in from the Edo State end into the Ondo. And all this pressure on the Middle Belt, especially from Kogi, Kwara, Edo, is putting a lot of pressure on the security architecture of the Southwest. This is one of the reasons why all the commanders are working with other security agencies to ensure that we restrict the incursion and we make the forest uncomfortable for these miscreants.
So what's next now as we wind down? What is next? The arrests have been made. What is the processing? Are they going to be charged to the court? Would you hand them over to the police first? And what is usually the success rate of prosecutions? Because we see these reports, we see the parading of the suspect, but after that, just lull. And sometimes we've heard that some of those people who are arrested end up in those same forests again, committing the same crimes that they were suspected of.
For all those previously arrested, those found culpable are being tried in courts of competent jurisdiction as we talk. The Ondo State Security Network Agency have been able to send so many of them to the correctional centers. And like this case, once we finish, we will seek advice from the state security services and other relevant agencies on what next. But we really want to get to the root of how they got to where we found them, their true mission, and then justice can take place.
Just one more before we let you go. You did say earlier that after a meeting with Southwest governors, there was marching orders given to Amotekun to reinforce its operations. But give us a sense of the reach and the scope of operations of Amotekun, because some would run away with the idea that Amotekun is only operational in Ondo State, and there's hardly the presence of Amotekun in other states.
Now, let me remind you that as at the point of starting Amotekun, it was supposed to be Western Nigerian Security Network Agency. But as a result of the legal issues that arose, each of the states were mandated to legislate and bring up their law. The law setting up the Ondo State Security Network Agency allows us to investigate and prosecute in collaboration with the Office of the Attorney General of Ondo State. And we had been ensuring that due processes are being taken. And to a very large extent, we had recorded tremendous success in securing prosecution and justice to majority of the cases that we have taken to courts, both the magistrate courts and the high courts. So I think substantially we are doing good.
All right. Thank you so much for the clarification and your insights on all these issues. We look forward to more arrests and, of course, hopefully, a total elimination of terrorist and bandit elements in Nigeria's forests across Nigeria, not just in the southwest. Mr. Adetunji Adeleye is the commander at Amotekun Corps, Ondo State. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
And so we'll take a moment now. When we return, it'll be time to talk sports, the rising fortunes of Nigeria in the ongoing AFCON. Cecilia Omorogbe joins us. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
All right, let's talk sports now. I think it's a great way to end the year on a winning note, because 2025 has been that year. So let's celebrate our wins, and we're doing it in the area of sports. Cecilia Omorogbe joins us. She's a sports anchor and correspondent. Sissy, I see you're wearing green.
Yes, patriotism. I would love to wear green whenever spring is playing. But when you look at your emblem, it's this real green there, Nigeria.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. Yes, there is a flag of Nigeria See,
in there.
Nigeria won that match yesterday.
Yeah, and I love the fact that I'm in the middle, you know.
Yeah.
This is a special treat for you for
Yes.
2025.
Enjoy while it lasts.
You've been actually been very consistent on the show 2025. So this is our way of celebrating you.
Thank
and by
you.
extension, the Super Eagles.
Yes.
Right. We won that match. We managed to win all of our 3 matches.
Did we manage? We won all our 3 games. You use the word manage. Come on.
Manage just means you have resources that you use well. Manage is not a bad thing.
Sometimes, I mean, the connotation, the context.
The last time we did 2 wins and 1 draw.
Yeah.
This time around, we're able to do 3 wins.
In 2019, remember, we did 3 wins.
You see,
and
so
we
you
considered less goals.
You see why we're celebrating this.
Yes.
So you don't want me to use manage. We succeeded.
Yes, thank you.
To get 3 wins.
Yeah.
Is this the Super Eagles that will win this AFCON?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm really positive right now. Yes, I know sometimes when you praise the Super Eagles so much, sometimes it disappoints you. But this time around, if you take a look at how they started the tournament against Tanzania, yes, they've scored 8 goals. They've conceded 4, which is half of what they've scored. There's a little bit of worries at the back. But then, the Super Eagles that came into AFCON, we didn't have that confidence in them at all. We just said, okay, you know what, just go. Whatever players you want to play, go, get in semi-finals and come back. Let's regroup, you know, try as much as possible to repackage the Super Eagles as a big brand, and then we start qualifications for the next Africa Cup of Nations, because obviously we're not going to the World Cup. Yeah. So that was the belief of almost every Nigerian. And so when we played Tanzania, I mean, some flags came for the players, but they played with hunger and zeal. That's what we've seen in the 3 games. And I think that's what we're taking away from this. It wasn't the same Super Eagles that played against DR Congo when Osimhen was out, and it was as if there was no one on the pitch anymore. We saw Super Eagles who were hungry to play, who were eager to play, who wanted to do everything possible to ensure that, yes, they got the victory. Against Tanzania, it was 2-1. Against Tunisia, yes, the way we usually concede goals late is what I'm worried about. Yeah, we considered 2 goals. Against Uganda, even when Uganda went down to 10 men, you know, we still considered 1. And Uganda, I mean, they made history last night using 3 goalkeepers. I've never seen that happening in the Africa Cup of Nations, just to try and beat Super Eagles. Okay, yes, it was the second one was an error. The first one, Dennis Onyango, they are, you know, he's over 40 now. Yeah. He's been a goalkeeper for like forever. I mean, he has been playing football half of his life. He got injured, and then a goalkeeper was substituted, and then outside the box, yeah, I'm sure he forgot how to keep, because he's always on the bench when you have a number 1.
So he's like, I might play, I might. What do I
He forgot, and then he cut the ball outside the box. He got the red. They brought in the 3rd one, so you have 3 goalkeepers in 1 game. That aside, but I think it's just the hunger, and he made 8 changes, and I think 8 or 9. The only regular players that started that game was Osimhen, Kevin Bassey, and those are the regulars we saw that started the games. The others, likes of Ndidi, Alex Iwobi, Akko Adams, you know, those guys were on the bench, and
Ademola
Lookman, you know, they were on the bench. So I love the fact they made 8 changes. And of course, he also changed the goalkeeper. Francis Zoho was given opportunity to be within he considered 1 goal. But that goal, anybody could, I mean, there is no way. We need to give credit to Ugandans, the way that ball came in.
It was a beautiful
it was a beautiful goal. So you can't deny that. So the way they come up, it shows that Eric Chair right now is having a headache. I mean, a post-match said he's having a big headache, a big pain, because what will he do when you have all your players playing so well? So who do you start? So that's the headache zone of how going to knockout stage. Well, the unlocking thing from the game is the fact that Ryan Alebioshu got injured. He had a deep cut. Yes, that deep cut. So I think at the end of the day, maybe he's out of the tournament, because when you have a deep cut on your leg, and it's his first game, it's his first Africa Cup of Nations, it's his debut for Nigeria. So, I mean, when you're making a debut at an international competition like this, very competitive game, your last group game, and that deep cut, I think the heart goes out to him. I hope he pulls it through quickly. He played so well. Yes, that's the headache I was talking about. He played so well. I mean, the right back, and now we're left to Sai Samuel. I think Chidozia was him. So that position right now, you don't have that luxury anymore. That's the only position he doesn't have luxury. In every other department, when Paul Notch came in for Akko Adams, I was like, how do you pair Paul Onuachu and Victor Osimhen? You know, I was like, out of that, they were both nines. But then it worked so well. I mean, you saw what Osimhen was really a leader.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I used to think that Osimhen can be a captain. But what I watched, I mean, I had to change my mind. Like, no, this guy, he was a leader.
Looking out for everyone.
Everyone, yes. He was a big leader, you know, tracking back and everything. So he wasn't eager to score. He was ready to actually, you know, distribute the ball, be so unselfish, and, you know, give the ball he gave to Polinachi that he made the first time. Yeah. I'm like, why didn't he just try and score? But that's what a leader, you know, that's what they do. I think overall, the performance yesterday was very good. Yes, they considered a goal. I mean, but that's just, as I mentioned earlier, that's just my worry. I mean, how do you keep a clean sheet? But it really doesn't matter. If you're scoring goals and you're conceding less, it's okay. Just go ahead and then see what happens at the knockout stage.
Ultimately, that's what we want, more goals.
Yes.
And, you know, one thing is remarkable from the conversation so far, the psychology of the Super Eagles. They've been hungry for the game, and we can see the fire. But do you see, you know, the loss of the opportunity to go to the World Cup as having informed this different psychology that is shaping their approach to their game so far?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you did not qualify for a World Cup, I mean, they knew, you know, when Super Eagles were going into this tournament, you know, what everyone was saying is that they need to appease Nigerians, and the only way they can do that is to win this Africa Cup of Nations. So last time you got silver, you got to the final, so it's no longer enough for you to finish third or second. What you're gunning for is the trophy, and if you start so well, I mean, that's what brings everyone want to watch. I mean, this is most people would have gone for shows, parties, and everything. I know so many people stayed back just to see the Super Eagles play because they wanted that joy. They wanted to bring back that, you know, there's just something that happens to every Nigerian when the Super Eagles are playing and they're winning. So you won your first game, you won your second game, and you're scoring goals. And our star players are performing from Ademola Lookman to Victor Osimhen, Paul Onuachu. So these guys are coming to the party. I mean, when I saw Chukwueze yesterday, I'm like, finally, he brought, you know, this is what I usually use. I will use the set. I mean, he was himself, you know, on the field of play. Because sometimes I used to feel that he'll leave half of himself at Fulham and then bring the other half to the Super Eagles team. But he was awesome. I thought Moses Simon could have also been man of the match yesterday. But then Moses Simon, what he brings to the party, I mean, he was tracking back, you know, everything he was doing. We saw these players really, really playing. It was the last group game. They didn't take it as if it's the last group game. They've already qualified. They could have as well gone on to get a goalless draw. We saw Egypt. Egypt made 11 wholesome changes, but they couldn't win against Angola. They got a goalless game. But Super Eagles, I mean, we had more than 8. We had 8 changes in that game, and it still went on. Yes, we had our star player Victor Osimhen on, but those other players, we've seen that Musama hasn't been starting this game. Chukwueze hasn't been starting, but all other players that have been starting, they've been doing so well. And they now brought in these guys who haven't been starting games or coming on as a sub, and then they acted as if they've always been on from game one. So that's the hunger. That's the vibe. That's the thing we really want to talk about, knowing that even when you're on the bench, if you're called upon to play, you also play as if you play your 100%.
And pardon me, this is no coincidence that we're speaking about the Super Eagles win on the very last day of the year. Yeah. We're trying to inject you with some winning mentality, so 2026 will be a winning year. Perhaps we should take a listen to Eric Schell speaking just after the match yesterday. So let's take a listen to the coach and listen to the headache. This is a good headache, by the way, that he has.
Play 16 rounds is a lot of pressure, for sure. But actually, I'm vaccinated about that. Since I come, I have a lot of pressure. And I feel good. I feel good because the town, like I said, is perfect. The hotel is perfect. The atmosphere is perfect. We are calm, and if you watch the game, I can say I'm more calm than the last AFCON. So I try to stay focused on during the game, on only the game. I have my vision. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's bad. So this is the football. We work every day, we work hard, the team work hard, the group give a good answer today because the player who didn't start because the tournament today they started, they show something today, so they scored 3 goals. I'm very happy for that. So now I have a little pain in my head because I have to do a lot of choice because everybody can play in the team and it's perfect for me. I'm very happy to stay in face because the town is good, calm, and people are very nice with them. We are focused, we have our pitch. We can do a lot of training session, maybe 2 or 3 hours, so I'm happy to stay here. Even if the weather is the difficult because it's cold, but no, we work. And today it was a game to change and to try to do another thing, you know.
Yeah, Super Eagles coach there, Eric Shell, speaking about pressure. That's the key word that I brought out. Sissy, he's certainly not, his job is not one to envy right now. And ahead of the second game, I think he had talked about the performance of the Eagles during the game with Tanzania not being, you know, enviable. What are your thoughts on what the task ahead of lies ahead of him?
It's a huge task and also a very good task. When you have a plethora of players, the luxury of having your best players playing so well. It was his first goal in the Africa Cup of Nations, you know, and it was Nigeria's 150th goal, you know, when it comes to the Super Eagles. So now, he's going to be facing either Cameroon or Mozambique. That's where the headache is going. And from what a feelers ahead from camp is the fact that he has been watching Mozambican games. Obviously, he has taken his eyes thinking the win because Cote d'Ivoire is up in the group, followed by Cameroon, and you also have Mozambique right the third. But the possibility of Mozambique beating Cameroon is very slim. But in football, anything can happen. So he's got that. So he understands what he needs to do. He understands that all his players are playing so well. So when you have that, the pressure is on you. The last time Nigeria won all group games in 2019, we faced Tunisia, and of course we got out. And that's the reason before the game against Tunisia, we listened to Ndidi talking about it's not a revenge mission, but they want to put Tunisia in their place. And of course they did that. Now, all the games the Super Eagles have been playing so far, they've been fantastic. They've been scoring goals. But the only headache it's going to be having is at the back, not conceding. Because and they've been scoring goals early. So they score first, and then they concede much later. But then against Tunisia, after they scored 3 goals before they were able to concede 2. Against Uganda, after 3 before they conceded 1. So it tells you that, yes, they can score goals, but at the back, yes, they may have conceded 4 goals and scoring 8. So the coach will have to work at the defense. What are they going to do? I mean, when you lose the ball and you're intercepted, you go after the player and try to get the ball back. All the players will also need to track back after they've scored. I think that's what he needs to do. Because if you try to lock up and maybe form a wall or have a train or whatever you want to have, you know, in front of your goalkeeper, it doesn't always work because you have to crack under pressure, and then the counter comes in and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what happened in the game against Uganda. So
we hope that the Super Eagles can win this AFCON. Sissy, I look forward to that interview where we're going to be celebrating the Super Eagles. But we have to anchor at this point, but also take this as a lesson for 2026. You may have lost the ball in 2025, but track back, get the ball back, and let's smash goals in 2026. So here's wishing you a happy new year. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Yes, indeed. It's good we're talking about winning in the last day of 2025. So let's win together in 2026. Thank you for watching. I'm Bukola Koka.
And I'm Cecilia Mwang. Of course, Happy New Year.
Indeed.